Hello, what I want to give you now is some information regarding each of the separate year groups from year 7 to 13. Some practical information that you tend to discover as you're going along rather than someone telling you at the start, which is always really helpful. So what I want to talk about now is just an overview of year 7, what the students are like, what you can expect and how that might impact on your teaching. So obviously, if you're a secondary school teacher, year 7s, when they come in September, it's a scary time for them. It's a new school, their bags are sometimes bigger than they are, and that sort of thing, which obviously means that for these students, they're coming very quiet, very timid and very shy. One thing you will notice as you're teaching them is they tend to ask silly questions. So more often than not, you'll get students say to you, I finished this page, what do I do with this now? Well, you turn the page over. It's that kind of thing. They will ask you how to do the same task 100 times from 30 different students. So patience is going to be really, really important. Interestingly though, when you get past Christmas, they're obviously a bit more comfortable, they're a bit more aware of their surroundings. And if you haven't started to see that already, that's when you'll begin to see their personalities as individuals. Are they the quiet academic ones? Are they the slightly louder, brasher ones that you have to deal with? Hello, what I want to talk to you about now is an overview of Year 8, which will hopefully be very impactful when it comes to your planning and your teaching. Now obviously they've done a year of secondary school, so they've got that confidence, they understand and know how the school works and understand their peer groups. They also, for some students, would have been in the school a year longer than you have, which is obviously something you may want to consider. A quick tip there is I tend to say if I'm a first year teacher, they don't know that. So if you can say to the students you've been working in other schools, it just helps in terms of you establishing yourself because they have slightly more, unfortunately, slightly more respect for you because they believe you've got experience elsewhere. Another thing to bear in mind with Year 8 is that obviously there are no SATs end of Year 9, and this has always traditionally tended to be that middling year where they don't seem to necessarily have a purpose for being at school. They're just there at school to make sure they're developing their learning. So that's actually quite hard for us as teachers sometimes when we're trying to sell our subject or sell the importance of education because there's no end point for them at that stage. And GCSEs seem like quite a long way away. Unlike Year 9s and Year 10s, they also still have some of that immaturity that you would have seen in Year 7s and below. So some of the low-level behaviour that you might have to deal with will tend to be some of the silliness that you would hope some students would obviously have got rid of by the time they get to Year 8. That's not the case. My advice really with Year 8 is they're looking to be engaged, as are all the students, but they tend to want to have that learning in a slightly more fun-based way. But at the same time, it's important to make sure you're pushing them all the way through. What I want to talk to you about now is an overview of Year 9 and what you can expect during the course of the year, which will have some impact on the way in which you plan your lessons. Now for Year 9, in some schools they would have already just started their GCSEs or their options. They already have that sense of building towards their end of their time here at GCSE. Other schools may not do that, and obviously traditionally in the past there had been the Year 9 SATs exams, so there was that kind of end goal which are now replaced by end of year exams. These students, as opposed to the Year 7s and the 8s, will be more mature overall in terms of the way in which they exude and behave themselves. However, obviously you're still going to see some of that low-level disruption that you would have got from the Year 7s and 8s. Interestingly now, obviously, at the stage they are at as young people, they're starting to mature, they're starting to then, in terms of friendship groups and relationships, and sometimes in some schools that can have a bit of an impact on the way in which the students behave towards each other. So it is important to think about your seating plans. It is important, as it is with all students, to know your learners, because particularly as they kind of transition into young people from children, that will have impact. And actually sometimes, unfortunately for us, I don't know why it would be the case, but studying Macbeth on a Tuesday afternoon might not be the most important thing in their life at that stage.